So today we have Kelly Wells in with us. Do you know Kelly Wells?
Yes, we've done a shoot with her before.
Of course, yes.
So yes,
I forgot, and we didn't even
spent a
talk
lot of
about
time
that.
with her.
I know, we didn't even talk about that, and we didn't because very soon after we had the session, which is super fun, some old guy in our parking lot saw a lot more than he intended to. She had underwear on, but she's a beautiful, gorgeous lady covered in tattoos.
Oh, she's fabulous.
And so I was very inspired by that. So I had her as part of my 40 over 40 project. But it wasn't long at all after.
No,
so she lost her 14-year-old son, Tyler. And Tyler, I thought, and so I learned, I knew he'd had a stroke. And I didn't know, what they thought the outcome would be for him. Mm-hmm. And so when he died, suddenly, complete shock. It was a shock, and nobody knew that was coming. And so, listen, to bring someone on that's suffering from grief, I don't want people to think it was an opportunistic conversation. The reason I want Kelly to come and talk to us today is because I see her posting so much about Tyler and also apologizing for it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think there's people that don't want to see it anymore, almost like it's time for her to move on, which is ridiculous.
Right.
It's just,
well, it's healing for her too.
Yeah, and so we have this medium now where we have pictures, we have video, we have all these memories, and Facebook, love it or hate it, does this thing about the memories popping up.
Yes.
And I see her apologizing. I see some people getting uncomfortable. I see the comments dropping off. I want Kelly to have this opportunity to talk about him unapologetically and just have this recording of her feelings out there. And also, they're running businesses. They're not multimillionaires. They're building a house. They have children. They actually have grandchildren. How are they surviving? And how do you not just shut down? And you have to pay for everything. Their food, their drink, their medical, all the things. So I think it's really important for the public at large to see that there is always someone worse off. There is someone out there that's managing a business, running their life, running their family through grief or through illness. And frankly, if they can do all of those things.
Right. You can too.
Yeah. So stop complaining about Instagram not having a great algorithm. Start thinking about everything that you have and look at someone like this who's lost their world.
Yes.
But is still running a business, still paying people's salaries, still doing this thing.
Being successful in struggles.
I mean, in terms of success, I think for them it's just getting up every day is a success story. And I know them both really well, and I've watched this play out, and I've seen it, and God, I just remember at the very beginning just being so devastated for them. I just couldn't imagine it. And she kept saying she didn't want help. And we set up a food train.
I remember that.
And we just insisted on it. And they're strict vegans, so they just didn't want to be a burden. Can you believe? They didn't want to be a burden. But they're incredible people. They're humble people. They're everyday. They've gone through the worst thing. I just want people to hear about Tyler. So we're going to have a great conversation with Kelly. We're going to talk about her businesses. We're going to talk about her pole dancing in awe, and leave a little legacy behind and talk about Tyler.
Hello and welcome. My name's Kerry Sheffield, photographer and CEO of my own successful business. I'm also the host of She Networks. A great believer in lifting up women and loyal supporter to those that are around me. We are all surrounded by incredible women who are breaking the molds in this thing called life. Behind every successful online persona is a real person facing struggles, failures, and living real life stories that don't always have happy endings. We will have an honest conversation, dispel this myth of perfection, and find out what they consider a success, how they achieved it, and learn what they are still reaching for. You are not alone. Join the conversation.
So good morning.
Hi.
We're with Kelly Wells today. And Kelly Wells, serial entrepreneur was what I wrote down. And so all the business that I know about right now, and you're going to introduce another one, you are co-owner of Stigma Tattoo Bar and also Millie Moo's. Would you call Millie Moo's? It's a play centre?
Yeah. Basically an indoor playground.
And since 2017.
Yeah.
So I read some press about the play centre that would tell us that story. You opened the play centre because you couldn't find anywhere to go with Ty.
Yeah, basically when I had Millie, I had obviously then a baby and a car seat and a child with special needs that wanted to not necessarily have his hand held. So I was trying to find places I could meet friends that also have children, safe, and where we could entertain him for at least an hour. It just wasn't anywhere. Coffee shops were great, but there really wasn't anything there, and the floors were yuck. And so it just made me feel like if I have this want, then obviously other mums must be the same. Started to look around, found a playground, Amaya Papaya, over in, I forget now where it was, but far. It was really far. And I just thought, as much as I'd love to go there, it was just too far away. And so I started to look around Orlando. Again, nothing. And that's kind of how it happened. So I had to make it safe for us, in which case then it would make it safe pretty much for everyone, because if Ty was safe there, I knew other kids would be safe there.
Yeah, and I know it's constantly evolving, but let's go back a little bit. So I wanted to introduce that strongly because, that's really how, well, I know you for Stigma too, but how I know you really for both as your personal endeavour. But what brought you and Danny over here? Because obviously for the listeners, you sound very much like me. So, I'll sound even more like you before the end of this episode. The
English will come out.
Yeah, it's not just English. We come from very much the same place too. But what brought you to America?
We, a long time ago.
When did you come over?
It's 20 years now. Yeah, we wanted a vacation.
And you've not been around any Americans because you don't sound
I
at
know.
all.
Well, I think I sound English, but then
Yes, you
my
do.
English family and friends think I sound American. So I don't know.
No, not at all.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, keep it.
But
It's
yeah,
a USP.
we would come out. We hadn't been for the longest time. First time we came here, I was pregnant with Reese, which obviously he's nearly 30 now. So it's a long time ago.
Yeah. And you got 4 children.
Yes. Yeah. That's a hard question, but yes.
Yeah, I'm always going to address it that way. I understand. Yeah.
But yeah, we did vacation and we really loved it. And then we thought we really needed to get vacation time, and we really didn't go anywhere. We had a jewelry store in the middle of town, a busy town, and we would always
Was it in Chatham?
Yeah. Yep. And it was just, okay, what can we do? We figured we'd buy a vacation home, invest in that. So we found a vacation home here in Florida, sight unseen, paid for it, and thought maybe we'd get scammed or something, but no, luckily it was good. We came and basically had our first vacation home here and realised that it was an amazing family place to be. Just we would come here and we'd go back and work really hard to come back again.
Yeah, I mean, I know Chatham, so Orlando, Chatham. I mean,
it's definitely got a lot more here for fun,
Absolutely.
for family and out of hours,
and just the people around. I mean, I grew up right next door in Gillingham, which is, is probably not good. It could be worse than Chatham, maybe. And Rochester's right next door to Chatham. It's a nice area.
Yeah.
But for people that don't understand what I'm trying to get at, I think that there's a high demographic of people that are super struggling. Retail was just shutting down.
A lot of shops
20 years ago,
yeah.
maybe not quite so bad.
Yeah,
but I know now. I've been back, and the high street's closed. It's really
for the most part, yeah. I mean, it wasn't
absolutely.
that bad then, for sure. No. We just sadly had some major issues in the town that we were in. Obviously, a lot of local other areas would come to Chatham because it was the shopping hub. And a lot of crime was happening, and when we'd been robbed, it was, as a jewelry store, it was not fun to be, in a town where that was kind of happening. And and I hate to say it wasn't the locals; it was the
coming in.
Yeah. And it just made us feel like if we could bring the kids somewhere where we felt like they'd be safer growing up and that they would have a better life. And that was really, honestly, we just felt like that was a better opportunity for them to come here.
And so how long did it take you to like move over here?
Oh, it was a plan. It was a long plan. We had to figure out, what we were going to do as our business here and invest, and, found a location to open a jewelry store, found another location to open a jewelry store, did the visas, worked on that, sold our house, moved in with my mum into her house so we could buy the home here, and just process everything. Was it took a minute. Pack all our stuff up in a big container and shipped it over, and so
you came over. Did you do the jewelry business here?
We did. We actually intended to open 2 jewelry stores. One was Veranda Park, which the building we were supposed to be in, I don't even think that's been built now even, but the other was in Festival Bay.
Yeah, Veranda Park.
Veranda Park is Metro West area.
Yes,
it was a beautiful new development that was coming
but
up.
it all went a bit wrong.
I don't know what happened.
Yes.
It
was
didn't.
money. It was
It didn't happen.
I remember hearing a bit of a story.
Yeah.
So then Veranda Park,
and then Festival Bay, we opened right opposite Ron John, supposedly Ron John Surf Park that was supposed to go in. And again, the plans were there. They had started construction. We thought. It never happened either. So we had a jewelry store, which then was right by Vans Skate Park, which is obviously a kids, predominantly kids type business. And so we did a lot of our body jewelry and body piercing, which is something that we did in England. Instead of just ear piercing in a jewelry store, we actually did offer like tongue, belly button, all the bits. And we introduced that to our shop here. And really quickly, something that never really happened in England, but really very quickly here, everyone would come in and say, "Oh, I want to get a tattoo." We don't do tattoos. We just do jewelry and body piercing. And it didn't really make sense at first. Why would you assume that? But here, everyone, if you do body piercing, you do tattoos. It was like a given. Yeah. And so we looked into it. I'm like, okay, we can add that. So we hired a tattoo artist.
I can't believe Danny wasn't always
he was a solid jeweler. He would make things
was he a jewelry designer?
Yeah. He would hand make
pieces. An artist then,
yeah,
so
he would make things for the Dubai royal family. Wow, he would make, objet d'art, perfume bottles, guns, all encrusted in rubies and diamonds, as well as a simple solitaire for an engagement ring. It was from one end to the other. Yeah. But yeah, the process was very unusual in the way that we hired someone and very quickly found the customers would come in and talk to Danny. He would sketch out their artwork and they'd sort of be a bit upset that he wasn't the one doing it. Right. Okay. Handing him over to somebody else that they didn't feel quite as comfortable with. And it wasn't that, let's just say sometimes it was just better to follow through. You do the design.
Well, it's his interpretation, his creativity. Yeah,
and also
in the moment it can evolve while you're doing things.
And he made them feel comfortable, and I guess maybe it was a bad choice of artists, but sometimes the artists that we hired weren't showing up on time.
And it's an interesting industry, isn't it? That it's a little bit sketchy, late nights, all those things.
And he was in a different environment before, so I guess his sales manner was more jewelry oriented, he had a different manner with the customers.
And he's quite unassuming.
He is. So he made them feel comfortable. So very quickly.
What was your role in this?
I was a jeweler too. We met as jewelers. That is how we met. We both worked at the same manufacturing jewelry business. Okay. But I did more so the displays and organising and obviously the kids and the body piercing. Yeah. Whereas he did all the making and all the repairs.
So were you his first recipient of a tattoo then? Because obviously
I wasn't. He wouldn't tattoo me first. He's like, I need to get better first. Otherwise I'm going to be constantly reminded of how bad I was when I first started.
Okay. So what poor soul got the first one?
Someone who worked for us. She volunteered her leg. And we're like, okay, fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, he learned really quickly, luckily mechanically, how a machine works, how a tattoo machine works. And so it made it easier for him because he loves cars and bikes and all the mechanical side of it made sense. So he just had to practice his art that was already phenomenal and get it to tattoo. Yes. And so he did that within 3 months. He was, his portfolio was better than most people's that have been tattooing for a long time. Yeah. And so we're really quickly, his work was what people would choose. And that was it. That was how the tattoo side started.
So the jewelry decided to fade away?
It just made a lot more sense when you look at how much money you have to invest into jewelry, and then it goes out of fashion. You know, it's the style changes so quickly, and you've got to have $200,000 worth just for a small, you know, not costume, but silver and
I know.
you know, light jewelry. When you're talking about that kind of money, whereas Danny's opportunity to tattoo is ink and machines, and his, you know, mind.
But where did it leave you then when the jewelry side of the business started to disappear? Obviously, you've still got the piercing thing. I know you've got a family, but I know you, and I know that
I wanted to be involved. Yeah,
of course you did. And I know you're probably running the business, and you're the sales and marketeer behind it all.
Right.
Danny's not up front.
No, he doesn't
calling
really
them in
love
off the
to be.
street. Yeah.
Social media is not his
Yeah.
thing. So,
No.
yeah, I think when we went to Winter
Did
Garden,
social media exist then? It was new.
but like any social,
Yeah,
if he could be in the back,
so
he
you
would
were
stay
the
there.
front of the business.
Yeah, he didn't want to do the sales. He didn't want to speak to people about their repairs. He wanted me to do all that, so he could focus on doing the actual, you know,
Yes.
the creation.
And you're still in this location, or have you moved?
Well,
now?
we actually opened another location closer to home, which obviously was Winter Garden. So
Yes.
then we opened jewelry and tattoo primarily. So this one was switched. So instead of it being jewelry with tattoo, it was tattoo with a little bit of jewelry.
Yes.
And that was where we had a lounge and a game area, and it kind of started to grow the concept of stigma,
Yes.
because that was what we found work. People could come and hang out. People would bring their children with them and actually sit and play video games, or
Yes,
Guitar Hero at the
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
while
yeah.
mum or dad got a tattoo.
Yeah.
And that was how we realised, okay, this is a fun. It doesn't have to be where you go in this cold, unfriendly environment.
Yeah.
And so we looked around, because Winter Garden, let's just say, didn't love us being there. They didn't want a tattoo studio in there, in their
It's very
city
old
limits.
school, isn't it? It's got this.
Yeah, they actually tried to close us down really harshly. Like, really, they would send code enforcement out and tell us we couldn't operate. And we were like, but we have a business tax license, so
Yeah,
how can you do that?
absolutely, yeah.
But they anyway, we
And
figured it out.
It's changed, isn't it? I don't know if there is one there now, but it's ironic when people are driving around with beers and doing what they do that they have an issue with that. But yeah.
Right, and I think this was
When I say
a while
driving
ago as
around,
well.
I mean
On
in the golf carts. Yeah.
But this was a long time ago as well, and I think now obviously tattoos are much more
In trend and
accepted
whatever,
and
yes.
assumed. People, to be honest, have
Yes.
most have some or
Yeah.
one. But yeah, then, which I believe was about 15 years ago, it wasn't quite the case, and
No.
we were definitely seen as the black sheep.
So then you looked to move out of there.
Yeah,
because of the
we
house?
were looking, because they had given us a timeline. They'd said to us, you can have this long to recoup your investment. Okay, well, then we need to find somewhere.
Yeah.
And we went downtown for a fundraiser and found our now Stigma location.
Yes.
And it was literally, it was such a cool building. It was built
It
in
is a beautiful building,
1892.
yes. Yeah.
All the raw brick, rough old brick. And the landlord was amazing, which
I feel like
obviously
I'm in
is
an
a-
old western when I come into your
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
It's got that
Well,
steampunk.
you think it's
vibe.
that's when Jack the Ripper was around. That's how
Wow.
long ago it is.
Wow.
That
Oh my
was
goodness.
literally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it obviously looked a bit different, I'm sure. But it really does make you feel kind of. I don't know. It was a cool
It's a cool
spot.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool place to go. And
Yeah.
so you have a bar.
And the landlord
Yes.
was really good, which is rare these days to find a nice, easy work,
Yes.
to work with landlord. We built out Stigma, but we knew it was ginormous compared to the other studio, so we knew we had to increase what we offered, and that was where pole came into it. Poles.
So pole dancing.
Yes, that was
Yes.
my fun. After like a long day, I would go work out, but because I felt like
So
such
after a
soccer
long
mum
day, you would do the hardest thing ever
and work out
and work out on a pole.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to have a go at doing that as an exercise class.
And it's so fun. It's
And
such a fun.
Alex is one of her best friends. She's an actress, but she does it. And she had a pole in her house. And I watched the videos and I'm like, man,
Yeah,
that's
me too
insane.
now.
Yeah,
I wish I could do it still.
I mean, I've lost a few pounds lately, and maybe I'd be able to hoik myself up, because I used to think, how do people,
Yeah.
it's just all
you
core,
use
isn't it?
so much of
And you hurt yourself. I know that
you
yes.
get bruised, but
Yeah.
it goes away. It's weird. Your body gets used to it, and you have to condition almost to get through it.
So when was the last time you got on a pole?
A minute,
Yeah.
more than a minute. But
And how did you start that? What was you
honestly-
something you'd already done, or
Yes,
Yeah.
I had, and it was because I felt like I was kind of getting lost in the equation. Like
Yes.
I was mum, driver, cook, chef, all the things
Yes.
that, you know, you are as a mum. And I didn't feel like I was doing anything that was fun for me.
Yeah.
But I also did want to work out. I just didn't want to go on a treadmill.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
So I found a local gym at Pole Studio, and that was where I got into that kind of environment and made friends, and we would just have fun, and it really did give me a new lease on life, and it encouraged me to get stronger, see things that they can do, and I want to do that, so I want to be able to get stronger.
How did you incorporate it into the business?
We just put poles in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
we
you
just
had
designed
dancers
it
in
so
the
that
bar
we
and
had,
stuff?
Well, we actually figured that if we, you know, the bars don't get busy till late, we can use the entire evening to train.
Yeah.
And we had the whole place to ourselves. So we would have our workout mats and, you know, we had something called Fly Gym, all the equipment to work
Yes,
out.
yeah.
And then at the end of the evening, whoever wanted to stay and hang around, we just did. And, you know, encourage other people to learn how to pole. And people would come in, couples and groups and bachelorette parties. Typically, it was the guys that wanted to challenge, like, I want to be able to climb up that. And, okay, cool.
I don't think I've ever
Do
seen
some
a guy
pull-ups.
on a pole.
Oh, yeah, so many.
Wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so we've got Millie Moves is in existence right now, but we have Stigma, we have the bar, and we've got the pole. Tell me about the TV show. So Beyond the Tattoo TV show, Scott Messina, and he does DJing now, doesn't he? Because he comes to Isleworth a little bit. I know the name, and I've put Save a Life, so that's got something to do with the TV show. So yeah, talk to me about that. Talk to me about.
So we did actually do
started.
2 sizzles, but Scott's obviously was the more recent
okay.
one. I guess the lively
sizzle?
knighthood,
Explain.
like a sales reel that they want to take
okay.
to the network and show them what Stigma is, because
Okay.
obviously it was quite different, and every time they would shop it, it would be scary to them because the poles and tattoos and everything put together, just I guess it frightened them.
Yeah.
But it was a
Now
fun,
they'd eat that up, I
They probably
think.
would,
Yeah, yeah.
But it was such a fun like nightlife environment.
It sounds a bit kind of raunchy.
Risque,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like if it was, you know, a strip club. It was different because it was for us. We would have fun. We had that like camaraderie of the girls would come in and train together, and we had people that were in, you know, movies, you know, famous pole dancers that were, you know, in Cirque du Soleil and on, you know, in Tom Cruise movies as dancers, coming in and teaching workshops,
Wow.
and it was amazing. It was cool, and we had a lot of fun doing it. But then when we had Millie, I stopped pole dancing because obviously it's dangerous to do it like the latter months. And once I had her, I was just I felt so complete that I wanted to be at home with her, and I stopped, and I just got.
But you did the
really
movie, so
lazy.
so Beyond the Tattoo. So I saw that, and it's still out there. It's still on Netflix
it's
and different places.
the platforms. Yeah,
And that must have been fun. Tell us about
It
that
was,
process. And
it
you're
was.
listed as a host on that.
it was definitely a bit nerve-wracking,
Really?
camera in face, but it was fun. We were trying to do something that would, you know, increase our business to Stigma and highlight what we were.
But you always seem to be in the place where things have happened. And we're going to get to why things have quieted down the past couple of years on that level, but we'll go there. But I don't know, and I'm kind of a bit like you. Maybe it's where we grew up. Maybe it's that drive for us to get out of the situation that we were in when we were younger. I don't know necessarily what your upbringing was like, but I know that for me, I really wanted to do better than what I'd had. But where there's action, where there's something happening, and in the first few years of us knowing each other before COVID slammed on us, if there was an event and there was someone creating something, you were there and you had all the ideas, and you're a doer.
I guess I probably have too many ideas. That's my main problem. But no, I was really lucky. I did have an amazing childhood. It wasn't about.
Yeah, I've seen you with your parents.
Yeah,
but
I can say
about
that,
where we come from.
But the opportunities. I wanted to
Yes.
have opportunities, and I wanted to give that to the kids and to my family and parents, and to have those for them. So and also I think that I feel, and I put it into words this way, but I'd never really thought about it until you're asked. But I want to make a difference. Mm-hmm. So I didn't realize that was what I wanted, but I think when someone said, "Oh, we're doing this," I'll help. I want to help because I don't want to feel like I could have done it and I didn't, you know, like I should have done it. I should have done better.
Yeah, it's
you
a
know?
fulfillment thing.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah. Not
too.
because I want to say I did it, but I
Yeah.
just want to know that I did it, you know. So if someone does need help, if I can help, I will. Probably should learn to say no,
Yeah.
but I'm not very good at that. So for the most part, I try.
think we start to really see where we're valued and appreciated.
Yeah.
I've in the past couple of years, my values have changed a little bit, and so I fully recognise when I'm just being taken advantage of, and I know
I'm
also
not good at that.
yeah.
don't
Well, I'm
recognise it.
starting to. Well, when it happens like 3 or 4 times, most people
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
twice.
you do get-
But now I think that, and even then, I'm not mad about it. It's just human
learn,
nature.
yeah.
But I don't have space.
Right.
And I know that you don't have space. But let's talk about, so you opened Millie Moo's, and how long, so Millie Moo's was open in 2017, so 2020 COVID hit, and
Yeah.
and you know, I
Everyone's
try to
closed down.
support you with your
Yeah.
business too. So like as it started to open again, you're always spinning. And what I love, and let's talk about the entrepreneurial side of this for a little bit, because what I see often with people in business is they open a business. This is what they do. And it often fails because they don't know how to scuttle sideways.
Yeah.
Because things change.
Yeah.
The world
Always.
happens. And
Yeah.
so you need to learn how to adapt
You
and
have to
evolve.
evolve to fit. Yeah.
So, and that's what you did with Millie Moo's.
Yeah, and it was a kind of a sidestep, just really as a safety net. We weren't able to open for the longest time, and my instant reaction was, what can I do that people will be allowed to buy or come and get? And DIY craft kits. A friend posted on Facebook, they were making these unicorn craft paint kits, and
I remember you doing boards.
Yeah, that
yeah.
was kind of how I got into it, and instantly I knew Millie would love this. So if my kid loves this, other kids are gonna love this. So for my birthday, I asked Danny to buy me a laser. Never used one, but just I'll figure it out.
Do this, yeah.
And
What do you need? I'll do that.
yeah,
I'll go away and learn
I want to
about
make
it.
these kits, and so I figured if I get the laser, so I got the laser and started working on paint kits for Father's Day, so the kids, people could come in and pick one
and
up,
you were
do it
doing
at
cake
home.
pops and
Yeah,
these
and cake
kits.
pops and pickups,
Yes,
anything
yeah.
I could do that people could pick up and drive away with, like Easter, as the Easter bunny, like an idiot dancing around to, make the
I
kids
remember.
smile. But it was so good seeing their faces and being happy.
But look, you're also hustling.
Yeah, and it paid the rent that month. I really just didn't want to have to ask Danny to dip into savings and pay the rent. So we got the laser, and I learnt how to use it, and I realised that I actually did some kind of cool designs, and I'm not very good at being like, I actually can do that well, so I actually recognised it, which was nice, and started to sell my designs. So much like a download for a song or, cricket design or something like that. I started to sell the designs, and
Just to
that
have
picked
the
up.
acumen to know that that's an option.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know until it happened. I guess
Yeah.
it was an accident. It was just I'd post on social media the thing I made, and people would ask me, can I buy the design? I'm like, well, okay, that's a lot easier than making the thing.
Yeah.
So I just started to push towards that, and that really did help us get through COVID. It, while we built back up again, because when you've got rent and payroll and everything else to make, if I can find that income somewhere without it being a drain on our other businesses, because every business we owned was closed. Who knew that was ever going to be a possibility? You think we've such diverse businesses, and never at any point did I believe that every one of them would be affected by something, which I don't think anyone did. But
no. We got to recover quickly here in Florida compared to
thankfully,
the rest of the world.
for sure.
And up north, it was a long time
Yeah.
after. So you got through COVID. You put this new initiative in. So I want to talk about what's happened to you the past couple of years. And address myself.
You're good.
I just want to start you off because, I've watched you bravely go through the past couple. How long has it been?
Slightly over a year. So
Slightly over a year.
August,
So let's talk about Ty. And you're wearing this lovely...
He's with me everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So Toy Story, what's the cowboy called?
Woody.
Woody, thank you, and I know that, but it just left me. So let's talk about Ty. Tell us about him.
So he was
He'll always
amazing.
be.
Yeah. When he was born, within a few days, we knew something was different. Mm-hmm. We didn't know what, but we knew that his muscle tone was wrong. We knew that some of his features were different.
Right.
And the instant that the paediatrician saw him, she said, we're going to look at this, and this. And obviously I went home and Googled all those things, Dr. Google.
Yes. Yeah.
None of them came back good. It was trisomy this, trisomy that. Trisomy pretty much was the main one, 13, 15 or 18, which are, not good results. I went back in to see the doctor the next week, and I was thinking, he's fine, he's doing great. He was slow at feeding. We knew we needed some feeding therapy. Anyway, the doctor confirmed my worst fears and said, that's what we're looking at. We're going to do tests to see if those are the things. And that's really where his journey started.
He's your third child?
Yeah, third boy. I was kind of comfortable. I'd had 2 boys before. I knew what being a mum was, but I didn't recognise some of the things that were wrong because he, to me, was perfect.
Yeah.
Longer fingers, smaller ears, sacral dimples, certain things that just, to me, it was just what he was cute, beautiful baby. But the doctor felt differently. Small jaw, micrognathia, which is, just again, another one of the things on the list that the doctor mentioned. And I'm like making note of everything she was saying. But they all came back negative. But at the time, her words were, if he has any of these conditions, which I do believe he does, you probably won't get to see his first birthday. And so obviously at that point, I'm like, you're wrong. You're not. It's not going to be right. And they were wrong, but it wasn't wrong in a sense. There was something. We just never knew what it was for the longest time. And so his life was spent, muscle biopsies, tests, learning to put weight on his arms so he could maybe one day crawl. He never did, but he did eventually learn to walk when he was it was just before his 3rd birthday. Everything for him was hard. Nothing was a quick and easy thing like most babies. You give them a toy, they hold it, and everything was 100 times or maybe 1,000 times, and he gradually would learn how to do it. He learned how to walk. He would learn how to feed himself, and all the things that you take for granted before now is like we have a big party about it because now we realise not every child can do that straight away. So he taught us how to be his parents. Sidestepping slightly, our beautiful nephew we had lost not long before Ty was born, and so Tyler's name's Tyler Aaron Wells. So our nephew was 14 when he passed away. It was completely unexpected. However, he had been given a terminal diagnosis, but it was unexpected when it happened. We thought he had longer. But because of Aaron, we knew how to be a better parent for Tyler because his special needs were similar, which was the strangest thing.
Wow. Is there any genetic?
No, not even slightly related in genetics. Ty's, finally, when we got his diagnosis, Ty's condition was de novo, not from parents. So it's something that just happened as his cells were forming. And it just is nothing like it, but yet they were so alike. So alike.
Yeah. And did he have a stroke when he was a baby?
We believe he did, meaning that was something when he was about 7 or 8. He was 8, actually. I was pregnant with Millie. And, as far as we were concerned at that point, we had done tests here, tests there, and then Arnold Palmer intake department got to know us by the time we had finished, going in and out. He had a seizure, and I honestly did not know what to do. I'm here pregnant thinking I can't freak out. I've got to figure out what's going on. But he was having a seizure. I knew that. And he was so tiny as an 8-year-old. He was so dinky. I picked him up, scooped him up, screamed for Lewis to call an ambulance and watched him go blue. He literally stopped breathing and went blue. And I'm trying to think what I'd ever heard about seizures, and it was that their body restarts.
Right.
And I just had to think, what do I do? I'm like listening, watching him. Do I breathe for him? Listening to 911 telling me what to do. And all of a sudden I heard him go, and And very gradually, breath started to go back into his lungs and he started to regain colour. And just as that happened, the ambulance arrived. So then a whole new journey started. Instead of a child that we had that, we knew had special needs, maybe, he couldn't talk, but he was running and walking and going to school and loving life. Now we knew we had epilepsy or we had a seizure disorder.
Yeah.
So we had a whole new neurology team then to work with us. And that's when we learned about seizures, which suck. They are just the worst thing to see a child go through. And we then would go through more tests and the doctors would try and help us with that. We controlled the medication, controlled the seizures with medication. A number of years went by, very rare, like maybe 5 different times across that, next many years. He would have a seizure because of lack of hydration sometimes, because his medication wouldn't work so well, like if he wasn't feeling 100% and we couldn't get him to drink enough. But other than that, he was really doing well. He was great at school, picking up new skills.
I saw so many videos of him and still
just the funniest goofball, in school.
And I wanted you, and it wasn't really because you've been through this devastating thing that we're coming to. I felt like you needed to talk about him and tell his story because people start to not hear anymore.
Yeah.
And so obviously this is all happening, and you've got this vibrant little boy, and he's a figure in the community.
Yeah,
and
people start to recognise him, and I know it sounds silly, but I wanted him to have a team behind him.
Yeah. Sorry. Have a drink if you need to have a drink and stuff. But and his obsession with plastic bags and his love of
silly
Publix.
long socks.
Yeah, so
he loved so many things, and it would those things it would change on a daily basis. One day he wanted to take carrier bags to school, like a bag of bags.
Yeah.
The next day he'd have a bundle of socks, still with the tag through them, but he wouldn't let anyone pull them apart. Next day, it'd be 2 pairs of pajamas. You just didn't know what he'd want to take to school with him each day. And it would be, bags were more of a common, consistent thing.
Like a collecting thing.
Yeah. He would have, his Publix bags full of bags, his Walmart bag full of bags, and his Target bag full of bags. And they'd be on one arm and he'd walk around. He had his loves. He would love gift cards, because he knew that it is a way of communicating. That's where we were going.
Oh, I see.
And so because of that, it was... a great tool for him. Where are we going today? And he'd point to that one, like that's the food he wanted.
So he was communicating.
Yeah,
really
he
well
communicated.
with you guys
He may never have spoken, but he would show me what he wanted some way. There was always a way, and even if it was to pull me, to the cupboard and show me what was in the cupboard of product, he would figure it out. Unless he didn't care, in which case he was always up for a journey and an adventure. But yeah, He just was the most vibrant kiddo, and we had thought, we just finally bought a couple of acres where we could build a beautiful, I won't say I hate the term forever home, because who knows where you're going to be forever.
That's stunning right now.
The home that we can live in for a long time, where he can grow, because we knew as he was getting bigger, he actually started to become like deep voice, teenager, started to get a little bit
he
of...
was 14, 15.
Yeah, he was 14, and he was just about to go to high school, so we really wanted him to be in a good high school. Yeah, still dinky.
Yeah.
And one of his first therapists, Amy, she has opened Dreamplex in Claremont, and we love the idea of him being able to go to school there. So when we found our property, everything just worked out. We thought that would be a great, fit for him.
And you just had all this testing.
Yeah, we did. We went back to the neurologist, and they were like, okay, let me just do this new microarray of a massive new test that they've, I guess, because we're not finding any answers. It's obviously not the thing that we thought it was.
But he was having more and more seizures.
Well, he had in the summer, beginning of the summer, he had a couple of really bad seizures that were just completely out of the blue, and it was scary because it wasn't the same as before. It was terrifying. I'll be honest, it was terrifying.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But we got treatment and upped his medication, and I begged them to please let us have the CBD, because the valproic acid that he was on. I mean, just saying the word acid made me think it was destroying his liver and kidneys. So, let's find a gentle way, something that's going to help reduce the inflammation. And I wanted that for him. So the doctors were actually allowed to at Advent Health. They hadn't been allowed before that.
Wow.
They were now allowed. So the doctor was happy with it. We got approved. We had just started taking the medication. He was allowed to have the two medicines. There actually was a third one that we were using in hospital until the CBD oil was dispensed. And he actually was allergic to that one, so I'm glad we stopped that one. Made him all itchy. I hated it. He was so itchy.
It's for him to suffer.
He didn't know how to tell us. He just would deal with it. He would just itch. I'm like, okay, so this medication's gone. We'll do the original valproic acid on a higher dose and this new CBD oil.
Yeah.
And we had one refill. So that's how, like, the first month. And I think we got our second refill. We really hadn't been on it very long. But he had now 2 medications to control these seizures, and had not had them since that first. It was almost like his hormones and his age kind of kicked in, and we needed an increased dose. But it took being in hospital for a week to really get it under control, for them to really feel confident that they had the dosage right. And we were able to come home. And we just had to go back in for a steroid treatment to help the inflammation on his brain.
And they didn't really have any idea about his long-term health?
Well, no. Again, when you've got a child with special needs but no global diagnosis, really we were just treating the epilepsy. We were treating it was called encephalitis because of the swelling on his brain, but that was because of an anti-inflammatory. It's called anti-GAD, anti-glutamic decarboxylase. Wow. I think I said that right, but anti-GAD for short, which caused swelling on the brain. But that was an autoimmune disease where his own body was not functioning the way it should, and so it caused inflammation. So the steroid treatments that we would go for would help reduce that. We had just been in for a routine treatment. We had to stay for almost an entire week just for the treatment. Yeah. And it was so hard.
And you were posting pictures of him in the hospital.
We had visitors every day because we were like, I'm bored, he's bored, come see us, because he's not sick, he doesn't feel bad, we just need this treatment. So, and he had to be attached to an IV for literally hours every day. Yeah. And he hated needles, but he had just got brave enough to let the nurses, without us holding him. I was so proud of him. He was so brave, because it hurts, you're getting these IVs, and he never liked it.
It's uncomfortable. And Did you know he was always vulnerable? Did you know how vulnerable you were? Did you have any idea that you didn't have time with him forever?
No, we have sadly got a lot of friends that have lost their children through trisomies or through other syndromes that are rare diseases, Tay-Sachs, super close friends that we've had to see them suffer the loss of their child. And we always, I hate to say it this way, but you think yourself lucky, because we don't have that condition. We don't have those awful diagnoses. We have no diagnosis, but we also have a child with special needs.
This is our life's hard, Ty's life's hard, but we're lucky.
Exactly, we're lucky. We don't have that. Yeah. We get to keep our baby.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry, ever.
I thought we got to keep him.
Yeah. And it was so soon after that whole week.
Yeah, we were there. I mean, we had friends coming in. Shannon came in to visit with the boys, and literally he fought me to get out and steal milk from the nurse's fridge. It was literally so strong when he wanted milk. He's not vegan. No. He wanted milk it was just so thirsty, I think. He was just always wanting drinks and wanted to go see what he could find in the nurse's station. She was bored sitting in the hospital bed. He would sit and watch YouTube videos. Thank you. He loved watching YouTube videos of roller coasters.
Really?
So we spent.
I know, because you spent an unearthly amount of time
in the hospital. Yeah, he loves his Disney. But we were in the hospital watching roller coasters, and he would watch tutorials on that, and then the food at the parks, and then he'd have his VR headset and sit and watch a roller coaster. He'd sit in the hospital bed on the roller coaster. I'm like, hey, as soon as you're out, we're going to Disney. Yes. We're going to go do fun things. And so the first day we got out, we went to Target, one of his favourites to shop at. and got him his new T-shirt and hat. And then in the afternoon and evening, we went to Animal Kingdom. And honestly, I said to Danny, I'm videoing this because, like, I feel like I'm videoing nearly everything right now. And I don't think it felt like that. I felt like I needed to share more of him because it felt so good to know that he was loved.
Yes.
You know, people were coming to see him in hospital because they had fallen in love with him. They'd never even met him. You know, like, that was, to me, that was good, because if one day he ever needed that support team, if anything ever happened to me or Danny, and the kids needed to take care of Ty, there was going to be a whole network of people that would already love him and want to help with looking after him as he got older. You know, it's one thing looking after a disabled 10-year-old, but a disabled 20-year-old and 30-year-old. I was obviously trying to plan ahead, thinking he's going to get stronger, he's going to get taller, he's going to be bigger than me, and it was already hard enough to hold him. We had to hold him down for the ECG glue. He hated that. They would have to put sedation at the top level, and it was not even then enough because he hated it so much. So in my mind, I'm thinking the more support we have, the better. Not realising, really, I'm building up a support for us, you know, like, as it turned out, because, you know, obviously didn't work out the way I thought it was. I really genuinely thought we were going to spend our lives taking care of a child with special needs, because he was like Peter Pan. Even though he was 14, he still loved things he loved when he was 4. He loved cars. He loved, you know, Toy Story, obviously. Toy Story was his favourite of all time. It would always bounce back. The next film that would come out, it would be back on. He would be Woody back in hand, and everything would be back to Toy Story. And so he always had that constant love of Toy Story, but all the other things in between, Nemo, and it was Disney. Disney was just his love. And I'm so glad that we were right where he could enjoy all of those things on a, you know, not necessarily weekly basis, but often. But yeah, so
so you lost him suddenly.
Yeah, basically, it's a.
And you don't need to go into detail about that, but I do remember reading after you lost him. I mean, I think I can't even imagine how you felt, but you didn't feel anything. You were just in a state of shock, I'm sure. But he had a seizure. And I remember,
we tucked him into bed after a fun, busy day, a normal day.
He
had a bath.
Staying at friends, right?
Yeah, our friends were gracious enough to let us live in their apartment in Kissimmee while we build our house, so we had a little bit more space. And Millie and Ty could have had their own rooms, but they chose to always share. They always chose.
Very close, yeah.
And we were asleep, obviously, as you are in the night.
Yeah.
And about 3 o'clock in the morning, Millie came running in and said, "There's something wrong with Ty. He's on the floor." And I'm thinking instantly, no, the medication hasn't worked and he's had a seizure. Obviously, my fear was that he'd had a seizure and we need to get him to the hospital as quick as we could. But as soon as I saw, it wasn't just a seizure. It was a seizure, obviously, that caused it, but I could see he was gone. And it didn't compute at first, because I'm thinking, this can't be real. This isn't something that is happening to us. We're supposed to get in an ambulance and go to the hospital, and they're supposed to make him better again. And it was a tough one, because we obviously had to call 911 and we tried our hardest to do CPR, everything we could do to. But the whole time we really knew that it was probably not going to happen, because as time goes on, you know, there's only so long the brain can be without oxygen. And even though we know that, we still couldn't stop trying until the ambulance got there. And then we weren't allowed to be with him because of the police hold you back, because they want to see what happened and take pictures. And so I can't even get to him I can't even see what they're doing.
Which is inhuman.
Yeah, I just want to please just save him. Please do what we couldn't do. Do whatever you need to do. Make him breathe, give him oxygen, get anything to get his brain back awake. And they raced off to hospital, and Danny was, I feel bad, because he's looking at me, he's like, you know that this is too long. And I'm like, no, I'm not stupid. I know, but I just, in my brain, I just want to go back an hour, 1 hour, or whatever that time frame might be, just so I can know that this was going to happen. Because who knew that? I mean, I didn't know that seizures could stop you breathing and then you don't start again. I didn't dream that would be the case. We'd had a monitor under his bed for the longest time, so that we could, if we knew he had, had a seizure, we could go in and help him. But he hadn't had one for so long, and he obviously he's a teenager now, and now he actually potty trained, so he'd get up in the night for the bathroom. So it would go off 20 times a night, and we gradually over the years got comfortable. In our home, we had a camera on, and with bedside camera like you have for a baby, because we were in a temporary situation. We hadn't even got all that set up.
What I'm hearing here is all these things that are you trying to. That's guilt that you shouldn't have, that you don't need to carry.
I think I'll always
I think so too, but you know what? I think that you just gotta. That will hopefully fade in time, but I can hear where you're going with this.
Tells me it doesn't help anything. Like, I know that feeling guilty won't bring him back, and all it will do is cause more heartache. And I know that. So
for whatever you're feeling, you just have to forgive yourself. Because otherwise you'll torture yourself forever. There's nothing to forgive yourself for. When I say that, I mean it's because in your mind, in your body, in your head, you feel like you could have done something else.
I mean, it's my job.
Yeah, of course it was.
Supposed to keep them safe.
Yeah, I understand. And I've watched you guys bravely, beautifully, Millie, and I know how it affected her too. I've watched you all there, just be there for each other. And you never want to take help. And so sometimes it has to be thrust upon you.
Thank you for that as well.
But
because we probably wouldn't have eaten that week.
But I
didn't care about food. I didn't care about anything. I just honestly I thought I was going to die. The pain it felt like, if my heart hurts this much for the rest of my life, how am I going to survive that pain? And I think obviously it's so lonely because everyone's on a different schedule. One person might be having a numb day, and the next person's having a freak out day, like panic. Because honestly, I'd wake up in the night and just panic, like that it happened and that it's real. And Danny might have a good night, and I'm like, now I've woken him up and I'm in tears. So you learn to cry quietly, but only because you don't want to drag somebody else down just as they're doing good. You just think, oh, you're sleeping finally. I'm trying to let you sleep.
You're going to be on this roller coaster for a long time.
Forever, probably. Yeah. I mean, you learn coping skills. Sadly, because you don't have any other choice.
Well, you have family, either that you have your daughter, you have your grandchildren.
Exactly,
you have
to survive. Have to. At first, I'll be honest. At first, my brain was thinking, I don't care if I die today. Because I'll be with him then. And then gradually, obviously, we have 3 other children and 2 grandchildren. I have to not think that way. I have to, and obviously, I'm pretty sure every parent that loses a child thinks like that. Thankfully, we have our other children and our grandchildren, because if we didn't, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know how I'd have an anchor to stay.
I mean, I've written this down about, because I feel a change in you. I see the change in you. It's still very new. It's still very raw, but carrying on through grief, you guys aren't on the payroll. You're building a house that you were doing, so there's that cost implication. You still need to support your family. You still need to run your businesses. You're carrying on through grief. When I look at you and I and try and understand, and I feel like, are you just existing and going through the motion, or do you feel you're starting to find a place where what does the future hold for you?
I hope we are able to find happy again, because I think we have happy moments, and I'm told, sadly, because of the charity work I was doing with the painting with the kids that had special needs, a lot of the parents sadly went before us, meaning they're on this path, and they already showed us that we can do this. And I think that I hate the saying misery loves company, but in this instance, it was more like, okay, I know you're alive still, and I think that means I can survive this, but like doesn't feel like it right now. But okay, so I'm just gonna have faith that you've shown me that you can do it. I can do this, because otherwise I'm not doing Ty justice. Yeah. If I don't have the strength to figure it out for Millie and for Reese and Lewis and Violet and Tommy, they need me to be not necessarily who I was, but who I can be. Yeah. And they don't need a sad mum and a sad grandma. I don't want to be. I don't want to be.
But you want to
walk on eggshells, grandma.
You want to be happy, but mean it. And then when
I don't
want
to pretend.
You feel guilty that you're happy. How can you
have
laugh?
happy moments? And I'm like, literally remember saying to Danny, how can I be smiling? How can I be happy?
I understand that.
And he's so sweet. He's like, just make the most of it, because who knows what tomorrow's going to bring. Just enjoy the moments. Yeah. And then gradually you learn, okay, you have to almost, for the want of a better word, pretend. Yeah. Like for the longest time, I think we pretended during the day that he was at school. Yeah. I know I did, and I think Danny did too. It made it so that we could function and work and do the things that needed to be done, so that then when reality hit again, we would have at least achieved something. Because otherwise, I don't know how people do it that have a regular day-to-day job, because we couldn't do anything for a while.
No, I mean, I remember,
terrible for those parents that end up having to, like, they lose their jobs because they can't go to work a week after. My brain, I couldn't read 2 lines. I read a line, I'm like, I don't know what it said. Yeah. I read the words. And I know that they say that brain chemistry changes with grief, like severe grief, like a child loss. And I fully understand that, because I really don't know how my brain functioned. And like the laser business, it still isn't really properly, I can't finish some things. Like physical things I can do. But when I have to concentrate and complete a list of things, my brain, like I guess ADHD or ADD kicks in as well, which doesn't help, because I have to stay busy. So if I'm too hyper-focused on something, it's almost like I wander off and start thinking of things that don't help me.
I understand.
But if I'm doing a physical job, hands-on, baking cakes, making decorations, it really helps my brain.
Because you know what's coming there. Yeah. And so obviously in terms of the grief, this is something that you're going to have to work on and work together as a family and with your family and go through it. Has it changed who you are and who you want to be? Are you thinking about cultivating a legacy that's for Ty? And then has it changed the direction of... I know it's changed the direction of your life. That sounds like a stupid question. But what I mean is everything you dreamed about, wanted to do,
all the things we had plans for have gone out the window. In all honesty, I feel like it's been a week. And it hasn't. Obviously, it's been over a year. But I read something and it made me think about you. And I don't think you shared it, but I saw it. And it said... For a lot of people around you, it's been a year. But for us,
it was yesterday. Yeah. And that really hit hard.
And I think that as much as I want to do something, I know how much time and effort it's going to take to do the right thing. So I almost don't want to decide and jump in. I don't want to jump in and do something that doesn't make me feel like it was the right choice for him. Like it's going to be the best legacy. And so, and with the house, we being the project manager, Danny and Reese have done an amazing job on that. Honestly, it's a labour of love. It's a labour of love for sure.
These guys are building a house, and they've built a tree house that's the up house. And it was that area down there is where we took Ty because it was the open area where he could run, and we've got like moments of being down there, flying the drone, looking at the lot when we first got it. And so we knew that was where we needed it to be, because he had so much fun down there looking in the trees and figuring out where we'd put our tree house for him. And Millie, they would have so much fun down there. And so to keep to that plan, obviously Millie
is only 8. She has many years left to want to play in the trees, and then the grandbabies, they're going to be wanting to join in. And we want it to be for him, you know, like absolutely. So that it's...
You want to keep
the plan
alive in your life.
Yes, it keeps him, it feels like he's there with us because we remember him being at least in that spot. He'd never have walked in the house. So we're going to potentially have a whole lot of things that he loved just to feel like he's there with us, because that's the only thing we can do now with pictures. Obviously, beautiful pictures of him help, but like this, you know, the things that he loved and would have happily stolen from me, like if I have a purse collection that is all his favorite things. I don't think I'll ever have a regular boring handbag ever again, because to me, carrying that bag or this bag of Buzz Lightyear or a Woody or Wreck-It Ralph, whatever it might be, if I know that he would have been happy about that, it just makes me feel like he's coming with me for the day, even if I don't get to wear something else that's him. I mean, obviously I have my little laugh can. This is the little laugh can of ashes.
Oh, really? Oh,
so but you saw his urn, which we had custom made, and it's amazing. And we couldn't put, obviously being immigrants, you never know where the future takes us, or if we are allowed. Who knows what immigration reforms change.
Anywhere.
We had no choice, and it's a sucky thing to say, because sometimes people do a burial so that you have somewhere to go and visit. And
I believe it's here.
We couldn't, and that's what I do. I do believe that too. But obviously, we had to make a choice of what do we do, and it was the worst choice, to have to try and figure out when your brain doesn't work properly. Yeah. But we knew we didn't really have a choice, because if we ever had to go back to England or anywhere else, I can't imagine him being here behind,
So I feel like your home is going to heal a little bit. I feel like it's keeping
us busy. That's
what
for
I
sure.
mean. It's keeping you busy, so it's a distraction for want of something better. You're surviving. I mean, you're surviving financially too. As entrepreneurs, you don't get to stop.
No.
And how has that been? You've got yourself through it. You're still here. Millie Moo's is still open. I mean, thankfully our other businesses, when we opened Stigma downtown, and then it evolved into the office and the underground as well. So thankfully we have a great team in place, and it does maintain itself. And my staff at Millie Moo's are amazing. They are friends more so than staff, you know.
I get it.
And they knew it. They took over from everything that I would normally do. They took over without even asking a question, because I just didn't care. If people were asking me questions about a birthday party, as much as I now can answer them with my, genuine interest, at the time, I didn't care about a goodie bag. I didn't care about a cake.
I understand it.
I wasn't the best at customer service at that point, because I would have, anyone asked me the wrong question.
Minutia,
does this really seem important? Because to me, it's not, and that's not good. So they took over. I wouldn't want to be rude to anyone, but it definitely teaches you to be more honest about your feelings, because I don't have the filter that perhaps I did have before.
I get that.
You don't have that.
There's not room in your heart for that. I understand.
The real problems that people have to face are up here. Yeah. And this is a tiny thing that's going to go, and they say this too shall pass. This won't pass for me. No. This is our life. I think
what will happen is you'll get stronger.
Yeah, you have no choice. It's almost like, you're living around this huge gaping hole. You have to make bridges, and you have to build fences, and you protect yourself from falling in it best you can. But, that hole will always be there. We'll never be able to fill it. There's nothing we can ever do. Our other children can't be Thai. They are them, but they help us. They're the fence and the bridge, and they help us,
and
stay strong.
Children,
they
and
are.
Your grandchildren are beautiful. Thank you for sharing today. I know it's not easy for me to even talk about it to you. So I just, for someone like you to have lost what you've lost, to lost beautiful Tyler Aaron Wells, and to carry on doing what you're doing, to build this beautiful home, to build this legacy, which is that home for me, and the beautiful family that you have. You know, when people complain and moan about all those tiny little things, what you guys are dealing with and how you're still carrying on. And I know that in a year from now, when you're strong enough or whatever, I'll see another beautiful new enterprise come from you, and it'll be born out of love for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure something out.
So thanks for sharing. Maybe we'll come back and we'll revisit, and you know, you can talk about the beautiful thing that you've built in his memory, and just keep sharing.
Yeah.
Never apologise for talking about him ever.
No.
And I see that, but the people that love you and loved him will always want to see it. So, and if it heals your heart a little bit or helps you get through the day, then it's worth seeing.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much.